Welcome to your Community Architects Gathering. My name is John Block, along with my beloved Mansi Shah, who's having her own connectivity issues in India. She will be joining us shortly. We are the founders of the Abundance Retreat Club. This is our 4-acre compound in San Diego, and we host retreats for community builders, in-person transformational communities. I'll be sharing more about that as we go on. First, I want to bring up our values. This is a good place to start, gang. Get us all on the same page. No, I don't want to use that feature. Ooh, nice sunglasses, honey. All right, can I get a thumbs up if you can see my PowerPoint? Yeah, thank you, Jana. Our core values. First, retreats are oxygen. Humanity's nervous system has gotten to the point where so much time spent on tech, so many entrepreneurs in particular, for whom work never stops. Long gone are the days of you drive to the office and then you leave it all at 5:30 and head home and relax. It never stops for us as entrepreneurs. That's why we make the statement, retreats are oxygen. And of course, we mean in-person retreats. I find the term virtual retreats to be a contradiction. So we are standing for in-person multi-day events out in nature. Retreats are oxygen for humanity's nervous system. They matter so much. And it's not just me saying this, the stats back this up. The retreats industry is now estimated at $384 billion, from corporate retreats to entrepreneur retreats to experience economy, $384 billion and climbing. So if you are in the retreats industry, you are in a very, very good position. Next, community enhances any business, i.e. real community. When we say real community, of course, we mean the having each other's backs in the tribe, soul, family essence. If you can bring that component to your business, it will always be stronger. It's a little flabbergasting to me when people do not have a live in-person element to their offerings. Probably because I come from that background and I've been putting on events since 2007. Many monthly events, once a year events, quarterly events, and I don't know who I would be without it. It just juices everything so much more for your business. And those who do not have this are missing out. So this is our second value. Next, this is a newer one, perhaps for some of you. Community leaders work way too hard to not have any legacy assets. There are other industries, like say real estate development, which obviously beat the drum of having legacy assets. And to make things really simple, we're just going to focus on land and property as legacy assets. Community leaders tend to be separate from that, where a lot of them are still renting, and the idea of property ownership is elusive. And maybe if they do have property ownership, it's having a house to raise their family in, which is very much the conditioned way of property ownership. However, as community leaders, we are uniquely positioned to have a different relationship with land and property than the rest of the world. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And this is a conversation that we don't see anyone else having right now. And it's very dear to us, as you'll learn from myself and Mansi. This is a big why we are here. Next, community leaders must rise together. So this is a big game that we're talking about. And for us, the North Star with us and the community leaders we serve is towards awakening and unifying humanity, unplugging from the programming, the conditioning of the past, of society, and instead celebrating unique voice and journey of the individual, which is a big journey to go on, fraught with challenges from limiting beliefs to external forces to parents to anyone who doesn't necessarily get who we are and why we're here. That's why, as leaders, we must rise together. And lastly, which is probably my favorite, truth will always prevail. That is a core belief of ours. There's a quote from Martin Luther King I like very much, that the arc of the moral universe is long, however, it ultimately bends towards justice. Just consider that with everything going on in the world right now. The arc of the moral universe is long, however, it always bends towards justice. If you're someone here who is standing for truth, who, as I'm looking to you, Dr. Ken, and some other folks I've gotten to know a lot, you've been a part of systems where truth has not been the dominant value. It's not been the North Star guiding the people in those industries. It could be for some status or monetary gain, control, ego. These are some of the more common qualities that would pervade large industries. However, if we look to the truth of why we're here, what truly serves people, and what we're really standing for as truth, capital T, and the sovereign truth sense, that will always prevail. So I'd love to hear from some of you, if you would light up the chat and share which of those values. I'll just take a quick moment to put them back up again. Which of these values resonates with you? Go ahead and put that into the chat. Which of these resonates with you? It could be one, it could be more than one. Okay, let's see what we got. All right, thank you, Tim. Values 2 and 3 resonate this morning. Community enhances any business, as in real community, and community leaders work way too hard to not have legacy assets. Tim, we know you've been on the journey of leading powerful community for some time, so we love that you're keying in on that. We have Jana saying, love them all. Jana joining us from Ottawa, Toronto, right? Ottawa, which is by Toronto, that's right. Love them all, especially retreats are oxygen and they enhance any business. And yes, darling Monty, retreats are the oxygen for humanity. So here's how this is going to go today for a community architects gathering. Monty and I will be with you until about 10:10 a.m. We'll be with you the entire time. However, we'll be the ones leading this. And then we're going to take a 5-minute break and then bring on our very special guest, a dear, dear friend of mine, Tiamo Di Vittori. And then hang around to the very end, because for the last 15 minutes from 10:45 to 11, we're going to do open networking. And then this will be opportunity for each of you to share what do you have going on, to you can mastermind, get support from the group. So this is something you'll definitely want to stick around if you're here for the networking aspect of this. So before we go any further, let's see. Monsi, are you able to share with us and come off mute?
I can come off mute, but and I can definitely share. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Can we have the team share the ARC photos, please? So welcome, everyone. I am excited to co-host with John Block, and we both are very passionate about bringing beautiful humans together. And we built our retreat sanctuary in San Diego, in the mountains of San Diego. And we have one big mission. We have a dream for humanity to win. And we truly believe that as we have more and more time on hand, we know that we will be able to get together more because AI will make sure that we do. There's a lot of jobs that will be taken up by AI. And then what are we going to do with our time, energy, and resources? We have to gather. And we actually, the truth is that we didn't come to live here by ourselves. We didn't come to build a life alone. A lot of the individualistic behavior is what is really getting in the way of us opening our hearts to other human beings. And that's why we're very passionate about hosting beautiful human beings together and making sure that we all lift each other and win to the next level. So this is our beautiful compound there in San Diego. It's a 12-bedroom facility with the extended campus that we have. And we have this geodesic dome, which was inspired by what Buckminster Fuller has been able to teach and invent, and the frequency of what a geodome attracts. And it is absolutely a portal and a beautiful spot that we were able to put this. So according to Feng Shui and the Vastu, we didn't even realize that we put the dome on a really amazing portal on our land. And Marie Diamond, who was there at one of the retreats in last year in October, she confirmed. She's like, "This is amazing that you guys have put this dome in this particular spot." So that was just a message from God. And I listen to God a lot, and this is a beautiful community. Some of the retreats that have happened in last couple years, and we've had almost 700 plus beautiful souls go through our events in last couple years. So it is such an honor to host everyone and bring beautiful, beautiful souls together so we can rise as one big family.
So you can see some of our photos here, gang, where Marie Diamond from The Secret, she came as a special guest presenter. We've had Doria DC Cordova, founder of Money and You seminars, mentor to Tony Robbins, former business partner Robert Kiyosaki. She's been to probably about 5 of our retreats right now. We call her our tribe godmother because of what she's created, Money and You seminars, the in-person transformation and the tribe and the legacy assets that she's accrued. She's a very good example of what we're standing for out in the world. We also had Larry Namer, founder E Entertainment Television, had a $3 billion with a B dollar exit from E. He's come on the more exit strategy and legacy wealth aspects. So this is what we're standing for, gang. We can go ahead and take that down, Ella. I'll share a little bit about how I got to be here. I came from the transformational seminar world. In 2010, I did my first personal development seminar, and I got cracked open to the transformation industry and said, this is it. This is the best game in town when it comes to awakening, unifying humanity. I really felt a big calling to pledge my life to that. I was hosting 3-day seminars, and as the coaching industry will encourage us to do, those of you who have been around the coaching industry will recognize what I'm about to say. It's choose a niche, and after choosing a niche, get really specific within that niche. Do that or die. Your business won't make it. So the niche that I ended up with was speaker training for entrepreneurs. And it's just what I had to do in order to have a successful business and be able to serve. So I was charging $5,000 per seminar, and I was renting hotel ballrooms, Hilton, DoubleTree, Marriott, and putting people through my speaker training. Now, here's the thing with this particular model is that I would spend $20,000, and mine were on the lower cost wise compared to some of my peers who are spending 50,000, 100,000 for their hotel ballroom events. I like intimate, which is one reason why retreats is a good format. I'm perhaps not the only one here who likes the 25 to 30 people kind of range, or 15 to 30 range. So I was spending about 20,000 for these events and having nothing to show for it in terms of creating assets and generational wealth. And no one really talked to me about this inside the coaching industry. This is just what you did, was rent hotel ballroom one after another. And the grind of this, feeling trapped, what I call Groundhog Day, led to my burnout after 7 years of doing this. My wife at the time, who was my production manager, our business was providing for both of us. The burnout of this bled over into our marriage. We closed down the seminar company and shortly thereafter got divorced. This was one of the biggest, as you can imagine, resets of my life. I'll share a few images from that era. So the company was called Speaker Venture. And it's funny, when you look at that photo there on the left side, that to me is very much an era, not just of my life, but in the industry as a whole, where this photo feels very much when it was taken, like 2015. And that's what events looked like back then. And that's something, gang, that I really am passionate about, is have your pulse on your industry, know where things are going. Don't go to events where they're just teaching the same stuff that was what they were teaching 10 years ago. And that to me is where things were at the time. And I was earning 250,000 a year and feeling like, yay, I'm making a difference, until that burnout and Groundhog Day issue happened. Now, here's what happened next. I felt that if I did not change industries, then I had missed the whole point of getting divorced. That this was a wake-up call. And anyone who's ever had an event like this in your life, I personally encourage you to see it as a wake-up call. Like, something ain't working, or else this wouldn't have happened. There's some internal shifts that need to happen. And for me, it was moving towards having legacy assets. So I pivoted into real estate. And along with my family, we founded a tiny house village in San Diego with 25 tiny houses on the property. There's an on-site restaurant, and we named it somewhat cleverly Tiny House Block. And it still stands to this day. We have on-site staff, and it's a passive income. We have they manage everything there, and we as the founders get to reap the benefits of it. So that was my first real experience of like, wow, this is a much different way to make money than in the transformational seminar world. Okay. I'm really hoping this is starting to open up some things for you in your consciousness about how there are so many different ways to make money, and that real estate, there's a reason why the richest people in our country have gone to real estate. By far is the most common.
Actually, all across the globe, even in India, the richest people are in real estate.
Mm-hmm. So from here, we acquired an 80-acre property and did the same model there. And then when Monty and I got together, as I was really missing the transformational seminar world, she and I actually met when she walked into my 3-day seminar in November 2022. And as I tell people, I was leading on stage. She walked in as a guest of one of my speakers. I got down on one knee, and we've been together ever since. Pretty much went down like that. We really determined that this was a sacred union that we were here for, and that we were standing for community, unity, consciousness, and abundance for 7 generations. You know, the Native Americans have a tradition of thinking 7 generations in advance. This is something that I always really respected. And obviously, they were not thinking about generational wealth at the time, right? That wasn't in their consciousness. However, if we were to take that principle of thinking 7 generations ahead, what would that look like in terms of our own lineage as well as humanity's? How does that impact our decision making in business, in asset creation? I want to check in. What's opening up so far for you from this conversation? You can just go off mute, and anything you want to share that's in your space right now. Who would like to say something? Go ahead, Tim.
I'll jump in. I had somebody in my inbox this week. I had an email subject: offer to purchase Tim Ringgold, and I was like, "Wow, I didn't know I was for sale." And it was a company that wanted to purchase my practice, and I realized I don't have anything worth selling, and I was like, "There's nothing to sell. I basically own a job. I don't own a business." And it reminded me of the difference between, truly being an owner of something that is an asset that you can sell, and someone who is continuing to, create value, but really trade time for dollars. And so that owner mindset, when my practice was sellable, probably 3 years ago, was amazing. And I miss being an owner. And so that's like rebuilding my practice for the fun of what I like to do is nice in the process, but also like the next tier of that is returning to ownership and being an owner and owning assets that I can sell that appreciate without me having to do anything.
Yeah, fantastic. So at our retreats, gang will oftentimes bring up Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, which is something that he and Dora Cordova developed together when they were business partners. And to sum up, most of you are probably familiar: 4 ways to make money: employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. And most experts, if not, I mean, vast majority are in the self-employed quadrant, meaning that they don't show up for those one-on-one sessions, for those events, then they don't make money. And there's a hamster wheel effect. I call it Groundhog Day. So pick your rodent of preference. Now, as we go to the right side of business owner, that's what Tim is so elegantly pointing out, where there's a system. So Michael Gerber's The E-Myth, which is a very foundational book about entrepreneurship, shares about his aha looking at Ray Kroc's system for McDonald's, which he didn't exactly invent, the McDonald's brothers did. But the point is, what made it mainstream was the system. That's how he was able to scale. So if you can do that selling Happy Meals, and Lord knows what goes into that food, what if you brought some of those principles to your own business, right? Prioritizing the system, the system, the system. Thank you, Tim. Who else has something that's opening up for you right now in the conversation so far?
I'll jump in. For me, the idea of the team rising together is really important. And us as individuals, and then the network of us as entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs or small group entrepreneurs, building our systems and then collaborating with one another. And I think on one of my event things, I'm talking about a curated network of other providers in the wellness and healing world. And that's really something that I've been really focusing on a lot during the time I've been with John and Muncie.
Yes. And we're very excited to be hosting your first retreat with us at the Arc in late March. So sending lots of love to Dr. Ken if you
Yeah.
meet Dr. Ken for the first time. What you're pointing to is so important because industry conferences have been a thing for a very long time. So the principle of, hey, it's tough making your success in an industry. So we got a person and talk things out to hear from the experts on stage, experts in somewhat air quotes. But the principle of an industry conference is very, very well established, which means, and this goes back to having your pulse gang on where things are at and where things are headed, which means that as any good entrepreneurs, we are laser focused on what's missing. What's missing that if it were put in would take things to the next level. So as we see it, what's missing with the industry conferences is that people show up with their networking personas and their power suits and their business cards, and they have lunch to mingle, and the conversations and interactions tend to be more surface. They're still sending their representative versus their true self. I think you all get what I mean when I say their representative is whom they're sending, the persona that they put forth. In our view, this is precisely what holds people back from reaching their greatest potential. In our sector of the world that is devoted to in-person events and the community, really a retreat environment that is curated, intimate, not 500 people, 25 people, and across multiple days in person where you get to sleep on site if you choose, and the beauty and brilliance of these conversations where you get to go deep. Something that has shifted as a result of COVID is that these conferences that have been more dominated by the quote guru, the expert who's written however many best-selling books, come see this person, they found that they can pretty much do the same thing on Zoom and save a lot of money, right? And in some cases, charge just as much as they were for the in-person events, to which I say, more power to you if you want to do that model. For the rest of us, though, who are feeling like something is missing in our lives if we do not bring people together for a transformational community and truly solve the biggest problems in a peer-to-peer advisory aspect, where yes, you must have some expertise. At the same time, you love the idea of curating a really valuable environment. And what we have found is that people will come back year after year after year. A guru model that sells into a group coaching program, 1 year, is by far the most common LTV, lifetime value, of one of your members. However, when you have this peer-to-peer advisory, then you're in the land of entrepreneur organization, EO, Vistage, Tiger 21, and I can name many others, where it's about the community, this tribe. So we are really standing for you to be true community leaders. Now, I want to take the next few minutes to go over our methodology a bit. And this is straight from our website. There's 3 pillars to really mastering this model of going from a community leader who might be hosting 1 or 2 retreats per year to having legacy assets, right? This is the arc of the journey. One reason we call it the arc is that, yes, it does stand for Abundance Retreat Club. And it's a nod to my screenwriting days where I first heard the word transformation as we were trained at USC, the transformational arc of your protagonist, right? So you are on your own hero's journey. So this is your transformational arc. Pillar 1 is we call foundation, is to stabilize the engine. I'll just read this out loud. Before building legacy, the core business must be stable. Your retreats and masterminds are the cash flow engine. This is the front room. So we use an analogy of front room, back room, where it's a somewhat nod to the speakeasy days, where in, say, the 1930s, the mob might have a bar or a restaurant in the front room that's front facing to the public. And then as people patronize that bar or restaurant, they would selectively invite people to go into the back room, which might be a casino. And that's where the real money gets made. Or they have business meetings planning their bigger operations and real money making ventures. Most people only have a front room. So if we were to take this principle, only not in a criminal enterprise context, but for your business as a community builder, what would your front room look like in that this is community memberships that would then feed into a back room? Once they're in the community, what kind of deals can you create? But just to focus on pillar one first, you must first stabilize the engine, right? The community membership that they're joining must be stable. Retreat offer design, community architecture, consistent retreat enrollment, recurring mastermind revenue, partnership-driven growth. Another way we refer to this is your dimes and your dollars. So we had a mentor in creating legacy wealth who taught us this principle, where dimes is what you would be using to cover your expenses. So if you live in the US, $350,000 a year would be probably the average of what you would be earning from your dimes business, right? And that's enough to cover, depending on where you decide to live, could be enough to buy a house for you and your family. That's where a lot of people land, and then they think of themselves as a success, right? Which in many ways they are. Like, they should be really proud of that. However, the dollars, the legacy wealth, they're not even playing that game. And that's something we're here to disrupt at the ARC. The second is to build the ecosystem. Once stable leaders realize something powerful, that their community is their greatest asset. This is where founders stop hosting experiences and start designing ecosystems. So what we're purposely disrupting is this constant upselling to your quote community members, where it's more like your clients, frankly, of more coaching, VIP, and on, right? We're disrupting that. We're saying that the coaching industry has pretty much peaked already, that this is more the future of where we're going into. And in this space of building the ecosystem, we're focused on community-driven partnerships, founder collaboration, co-created ventures, collective investments, scaling without sacrificing soul. This requires curating your community at a higher level. And what we see a lot of community leaders miss is that when you have a community, you can develop a relationship with people in a much bigger way. I'll give a quick analogy that a lot of people will start a podcast in order to develop a relationship, and it's a great way to do that. Right? I think it's smart that you're able to reach out to someone and essentially have a coffee date with them that you probably would not get otherwise, because, hey, you want to be on my podcast, and that's something you have a relationship with them. However, here's the deal. For that busy, high-level person, your podcast might be one of 5 they're doing that week. Maybe one of 15 if they're promoting something. So you're not really going to be growing the relationship with them that powerfully. Now, if you take the exact same scenario and say, how would you like to come speak to my community? Which means that they show up in person to your event. Now, granted, it's easier to say yes to a podcast request than say yes to a community in-person speaking engagement. However, you may or may not be surprised, depending how long you miss industry, that people want to do this. Leaders want to speak in person. They get it as much as we do. This is where the real juice is and connection is coming in person. Gang, this is how Larry Namer from E! Entertainment, when I met him a year ago at International Women's Gala, how I got him to our property, right? To spend 2 days with us. It's because I said, I have a community I'd love for you to speak at, right? Now I have an open door to him anytime. So that's an example of how you would build out your ecosystem. Next is create legacy assets. This is where the back room opens. Inside strong communities, entirely new opportunities emerge, and the community itself becomes the wealth vehicle. Retreat property ownership, equity partnerships, private investment groups, collaborative ventures, land stewardship. Gang, I cannot tell you enough how much of a game changer it's been to own our own venue. I cannot overemphasize how I show up differently as a leader. And Dr. Ken, Tim, Kathy, some of you who've been here a lot, you may not have known me before in my speaker adventure days, but I can tell you it's a lot different now. And I found that my own authenticity and shedding of past like practices that really got in the way of me being my most authentic self from a personal evolution standpoint, it's been wonderful. From a financial standpoint, so good. Gang, a lot of these hotel ballrooms, they had to make up for lost COVID revenue. So there was a 3x increase oftentimes with this. And Airbnbs are not getting cheaper either, right? And it always kind of like struck me something missing when a retreat leader hosts a VRBO or Airbnb retreat where you're putting money into a relationship, which, yeah, it's cool that it's an individual. I dig that certainly over, say, conglomerate like Sheraton or Hilton. However, there is no real relationship being formed with that Airbnb host. It's purely transactional. Okay? What if the next level is that it's an ecosystem, right? Where either you have equity in that property and you benefit from that. What if it's someone that is going to make really incredible introductions for you because you put money into the retreat center? As someone who's been putting on events since 2007, I've not loved the fact of spending lots of money for a venue and they do zero in terms of promotion or introductions because they're only in the hospitality business. Consider the next level is this partnership. And when someone books an event with ARC, we make damn sure they win. Right? We open up our resources to them, the people we know, to make sure that it's as successful as possible. For you to engage with us if this resonates. And with that, I'm actually going to start wrapping it up. Perfect, 10-10. Gang, if you would like to learn more about the Abundance Retreat Club, how to engage with us, we'd love to speak with you. This is for you if you have already hosted at least one retreat. So this is not for you if you are thinking, oh, I might want to host a retreat someday. We used to be really generous with our time and meet with people, and then found that that was not really the fit for the ARC. So if you have already hosted at least one in-person retreat, and what we've outlined here as a 3-pillar journey is resonant with you, is inspiring, you could see yourself fitting in somewhere within the ecosystem, then we love to speak with you. Ella, if you would put that link in the chat to book a 30-minute call with us. This is mine and Monty's one-on-one time. You get to meet with both of us. And we're happy to block it out for you if this is resonant with you and there's something you'd like to explore further with us. We do have our 3-day events. We do 3 per year at the ARC. So our next one, Retreat to Legacy, is happening April 17th through 19th. So when we get together, we are going to go over, usually it's around stabilizing your engine is where we would start. So look at the community that you've built so far, how to strengthen it, what the longer term play as a 7 to 9 figure ecosystem could look like. And if it's aligned, we'll certainly invite you to join us at Retreat to Legacy, and you have the opportunity to register with us at the end of that call. All right, we're going to take a short break, just 3-minute break. So you can go ahead and book a call if you like. And then we are going to bring on Tiamo Di Vittori. So back in 3 minutes. Tim, I'm having a flashback of when you so wonderfully assisted me with my events at Marina Village, at which Tiamo was a guest speaker.
That's where Tiamo and I met.
Yeah, I want to say 2014. Does that sound right?
Grabbing at straws, my friend.
That's about right, John.
2014, 15, yeah, something in there. Sure.
Yeah.
Back in the teens.
That's great. And then
Tiamo hasn't, and by the way, Tiamo hasn't aged a damn day. Son of a gun.
Thank you,
right?
Tim.
It's really annoying.
I've noted and
I have
commented on that many
photographs
times.
from that time. You haven't aged a day. It's very, very annoying.
Thank you.
Not
Tim.
bitter at all.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, when in doubt, just take your shirt off and show off.
Yes. That's something that I can't do.
Yeah.
Oh man, right in the middle of a big gulp of water. You got me. Oh, stop it.
All right. Gang, I'm really excited to be bringing up this special guest. When you are in this industry long enough as a community builder, there's some people whom you resonate with, some people who you feel you're on the same page with. And then there's the people who go beyond that, who you really deepen a brotherhood and a bond that lasts into the decades. Truly a soul brother for life. I was at the hospital when his daughter Jatem came into the world. He's been there for me through my first divorce when we were consciously uncoupling. He was the first person we called to break the news to, him and his amazing wife Diane, and they talked us through it. And now we get to bring him on as he is in his own evolution, really create something that's the most aligned and true for him, that, as he'll probably say, is well, actually I don't want to say for him, but I'll just say from having spoken to him, it is very, very exciting. He's a community builder, someone that in the spirit of all of our gatherings here has made a really great living, created a lot of success, putting community first and creating transformation, has used that to create his own assets. He owns a wonderful home in Arizona that we've visited several times. And with that said, I'm going to read his official bio. Tiamo De Vittori is a music prosperity. Actually, I didn't mean to share that. Tiamo De Vittori is a music prosperity mentor and the founder of the Musicpreneur Academy, known for helping musicians, speakers, and entrepreneurs achieve success through his Joy First model. He teaches artists and entrepreneurs to move beyond traditional hustle culture by integrating live original music with motivational speaking, a format that he has pioneered called keynote concerts. I asked him to come here. So he's accomplished so much, gang, as a musician and singer and as a transformational leader. In the context of Community Architects Gathering, how the Joy First model applies to building a community, leading a community, and ultimately creating the legacy you're here to have. This Joy First model emphasizes that lasting success is achieved by prioritizing well-being and purpose over the traditional high-stress hustle and grind approach. Let's bring it on for Tiamo De Vittori!
John, thank you so much for the really touching intro. And I want to start off by saying John and Monzi are the kind of people where when my father passed away a couple of years ago, I would get texts from friends and once in a while phone calls. John and Monzi instead showed up at my door. And it was a surprise visit. And I'll always remember that. You know, it was so wonderful to have them in our home and to just be together and sharing what I was going through. And it was like they showed up in person. So when John and Monzi are talking about the significance of being together in person, it's not just about retreats. This is who they are off camera. off stage. And so they showed up for me and my family in person at our house. I remember I was upstairs and the doorbell rang. I was like, who's ringing our doorbell at like 9:30 at night? And I came downstairs and it was like John and Monty. And they don't even live in Arizona, guys. You might have been like, I think you're going to an event in Sedona, which is like, Sedona's 2.5 hours away. So that's just a snippet and an example of the kind of people that they are as a couple, and truly like living this message of the importance of being together in person and gathering. So I just want to thank you for that intro, John.
Of course.
Yeah, so I am happy to share some of my journey with you guys, and I'm confident that you will resonate with it as event and retreat leaders. For me, I started out doing live events in 2013. And as John mentioned earlier, you have to decide your niche, right? So for me, that's what I did. I decided this is going to be my niche, which is musicians. And I was going to help musicians to become hybrid speaker musicians so they could deliver keynote concerts at conferences. And so I think to this day, one of my favorite events was my first event, because I realized then that I found my calling. Like, this is unquestionably my dharma. This is my purpose. I want to help musicians to share their message with the world in a much bigger way. I remember after that first 3-day workshop in San Diego, it ended on a Sunday, and Monday morning I was just in tears, reflecting on how impactful the event was. And I was just like overflowing with gratitude. And so I continued building and scaling events, and they doubled and tripled and quadrupled in size. And they became very large scale events at hotel ballrooms with bigger event venues and room blocks and budgets. And yeah, I remember like watching my budget grow, like from like 5K to 10 to 20 to 30. I was like, what? How does this work? Like, it just keeps ballooning on me. And for a good number of years, with all the hustle and grind that I would put into promoting these events, because usually it was like a 6-month window. At the end of every event, I'd be exhausted, but like in a really great way, like because I poured my soul into the event. And usually there would be some kind of moment backstage or something like that with my wife, Diane, where we'd melt into each other's arms, right? Because she would also produce my events, and we'd give each other a really big hug. And I'd say to her at some point, this was so worth it. Meaning all the hustle, the 6 months, all the like nights where I slept 2 to 3 hours, all of that, putting it all on the line. It was so worth it. Because, as you know very well, the transformation in the room, the relationships that were formed, the lifelong friendships, the lives that were not only changed, but saved. Then a few more years go by, and I had my system. I was doing 2 3-day events a year, 4 mastermind retreats a year. Because I was doing 2 events a year with a 6-month window leading up to each event, that meant that I was promoting an event all year. There were no breaks. I was always on. Now, I'm very self-motivated. I have a lot of willpower. And that worked for a while. Then eventually, at the end of the events, Diane and I backstage would have our moment, and we'd be holding each other. And I always remember the first time I said to her, I'm not sure if it was worth it. And she wasn't surprised, because for that event, she saw everything I was going through leading up to it, meaning my health, my energy level, my nervous system, because my body was breaking down. To the point that I remember my daughter, Jitem, she was around 1 year old, and she would say, "Daddy, uppy, Daddy, uppy," which meant she wanted me to pick her up. And I always loved to pick her up, and like we dance and like all kinds of stuff. And so there is a stage where I'd say, "Jitem, I'm so sorry, I can't pick you up." Because every time I picked her up, it would really hurt my side. And it was undiagnosed. I didn't know what it was. But for months, I couldn't pick up my own daughter. And I'd have to explain to her in a way that made no sense to her or to me. But what did I keep doing? I kept doing events the same way I always do that, because I was in the system. I was in the machine that I created. So a few more years goes by, and did more events, all very successful events, by the way. And then I got to the point where Diane and I had our moment again backstage. And this time I said, I think it's not worth it anymore. Because I discovered something really important. I was blind to it before because I was so immersed in the events and the masterminds. I wouldn't change it, because I've made incredible friendships. John, Tim, Monzi, thank you. And the transformations in the room are timeless. But the realization was this: I was sacrificing the journey for the destination. And I started to step back and look at my events and realize, if I add all of these up, it's maybe a total of like 2 weeks. So the rest of the year, maybe like 340 days, let's say roughly, I'm struggling. Like, I keep willpowering my way to get to these destinations, these results, these outcomes. So for years, it was worth it. And then I went through these stages where I started to question it. And I was questioning it because I was listening to my body. Eventually, I got to a place where I feel like the candle was blown out. Like I had no more flame. And I knew I had to totally revisit this. And so I decided to go on a 3-day solo retreat. This wasn't like an event I was attending or anything like that. This was just like me, unplanned. Like, I just need to go away for 3 days to do some soul searching. So that's what I did. And I came back, and when I returned, I found a solution. But the solution for me wasn't do more events, do them better. It wasn't any of that stuff. It came down to one word: joy. And I had a new question in my life, which was, how could I put joy first in my life and business second? And if I did that, what would happen next? So I sat down with Diane after this solo retreat, and I said, you know what? I feel like I want to get back to my joy, and I want to commit to it, and I want to be intentional about it. And so I had this inspiration to cancel everything on my calendar and start with a fresh new canvas. and actually schedule joy. And I had to do something every day that brought me joy. It wasn't like, oh, like, yeah, let's plan our next trip or vacation. It was like, no, joy is meant to be had daily, which felt radical to me. But I also felt like that's who I truly am. And so I moved forward in scheduling something that brought me joy every day. It could be something really small, it could be something bigger. And then I built my business around that. So I met with my team and we had a whole like team meeting around like, how are we going to help Tiamo to put joy first in his life? So the structure of my business completely changed, where coaching calls and trainings and speaking and all of that was scheduled around my joy. And I committed to doing this joy first life for a full year. And I told Diane, like, this might mean that the business could totally crumble. How do you feel about that? And in true Diane form, she said, I love it. Let's go for it. And so for me, that was just, that gave me so much empowerment to make this decision. And part of the deal that I made with myself is that I can't check in with myself financially. So I met with my accountant and my bookkeeper, and I told them I'm not going to track my money anymore for this whole year. And I'm just going to ask you to let me know, like, if there's red flags, if the ship is sinking, like, please do let me know a little bit in advance. But otherwise, I don't want to know, because if I start losing money, I'm going to get scared and I'm going to turn this whole faucet off. So first month felt really crazy. I felt pretty out of my mind, which is actually how it should be. And I kept going with it and I loved it. And guess what? I was getting my energy back. I was getting my inspiration back. I was healing in ways that doctors couldn't help me over the last 5 years. And in doing so, I was raising my vibration and I was attracting so many people and opportunities in ways that felt effortless, because I was done with efforting. So we'll fast forward at the end of the year. I had an incredible journey. I'm not going to go into all the details because that would be like a whole nother class. But I will tell you that at the end of the year, I felt better than I've felt in decades. And I completely restructured my business. I went from working 50 to 60 hours a week, roughly, to about 15 to 20 at most. So I had a much deeper relationship with my daughter. I could not only pick her up, but run around the house, throw her on the bed, dance, do all the picking upping that she wanted me to do. Deeper relationship with my wife, and most of all, deeper relationship with myself and with God. And there was a little bonus at the end of the year, because it was tax time, and my accountant reached out to me, not because it was a red flag, but a green light. And my accountant told me that I had made 30% more revenue that year than the previous year. Now, my mind didn't understand how this was possible, because I had been working 75% less and having 75% more fun. So my ego was like, this is not possible. So then what happened is, I said to my accountant, like, this can't be right. You know, I really apologize for the inconvenience, but can you redo these numbers? I'll pay you for it. You know, I know it'll take a couple of weeks, but can you please do it? So my accountant redoes all the numbers for the year, sends it back to me, and it's exactly the same. Now my ego is really fighting for survival, because I still didn't believe my accountant. So I decided I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to take a month out of the year, and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to go through every receipt, every number, every penny. And I'm going to prove my accountant wrong. So I like for 2 days, I went through all the numbers and they were still the same. And that's when I had a moment where I was like, I think it's time that I surrender. That this happened, this is possible, and this is my new way of life. So that was a few years ago. And that was the first year of my joy first life. And what I've discovered is since then, up until now, I'm never going back. I am never going back to the old way. My heart won't let me. My soul won't let me. My body won't let me. My nervous system won't let me. My family won't let me. And my clients won't let me either. So what does the old way look like compared to the new way as it relates to events and retreats? Well, first of all, it starts with you at a vibrational level and people just wanting to be in your field. Not so much about the content, not so much about all the results and outcomes that they're going to have, that we need to make sure we're clear in our copy and our messaging, that they know that they're going to have these outcomes. But just because they want to be in your world, because of who you are and your beingness over your doingness. So for me, it's become a lot more about beingness than doingness. Before, the anti-joy model was where I felt like I was hustling and grinding to fill events. It was predictable, it worked, but not at the soul level. Now, what did I not like about it? What I didn't like, that was my anti-joy, was the feeling that I had to constantly be list building. In truth, I wasn't a retreat leader. I wasn't a seminar leader. I was a glorified list builder, an internet marketer. Everybody saw me as a mentor, coach, seminar leader. But for those 330-ish days, I really was an internet marketer. And so I decided that's not who I want to be anymore. That's not what brings me joy. So what does bring me joy as it relates to events and retreats? Well, what brings me joy is speaking. I love speaking on stages. And I know you can relate. Like, speaking on stage for me is my joy. I feel like I'm channeling. I feel like it's my highest version of myself and being able to serve and inspire other people. And I can not only feel the transformation in the room, but I can see it happening. And so for me, I thought to myself, how can I simplify my system? Because when things are simple, I create much more time and space for joy. And so rather than be in constant list building mode all year long, which has nuances of neediness and desperation, I decided instead to tap into these 3 key words that I hope lands for all of you. These 3 words: other people's audiences. I didn't have to be so wrapped up all year in list building my audience. I could just speak in front of other people's audiences who have the perfect audience for my message, where everybody in the room knows it. We all feel it, that I'm the perfect fit for them and they're the perfect fit for me. There's no question. And so I figured out that if I want my event to have roughly 100 people at my event, sometimes more, sometimes less, I just need to speak at 5 events. If I can get about 20 people per event to sign up for my event, that's 5 events. That's if we take like a span of 5 months leading up to my event, that's one speech a month. Which, by the way, I love to do more than anything. So, one speech a month in front of other people's audiences where that event leader had to get everybody in the room, and I just have to show up being me, get on stage, tell my story, and then invite people to my event. To me, that is so much lighter, heart expanding, and fits perfectly with my joy first model. So that's something that I encourage you to do on 2 levels. Number one, on a very personal level of living a joy first life and what that would do for you, what that would do for your family, and what that would do for your soul. And then the second level is what that would do for your business. Right? If you put joy first, what will happen for your business, I promise you, will be astounding. You just have the courage. Just have the courage to do it. I went first for you. I've already been there. I've had all the fear-based thoughts, thinking I was going crazy, judging myself for doing something that was irresponsible because I have a family to take care of. But you know what the responsible thing was? Is putting joy first in my life. It's the best thing I've ever done. And I've done a lot of great things. And I hope you'll take the same approach.
All right. Thank you for such an inspiring journey. I know a lot of us can relate deeply to this. I'd like to ask a few questions with the time that we have.
Yeah.
Those of us who are newer to putting joy first, what are some examples of practices we could do, however small?
Well, before you decide what brings you joy, we have to purge what doesn't bring you joy. So as someone I follow, her name is Oracle Girl, she says that our suffering only continues because of our inability to say no. So we have to sit down with ourselves and eventually have intimate conversations with our husbands, wives, partners, and everything else around what no longer serves us and be in our truth about that. And then purge it so that we can begin to create the space for what we love, what we're passionate about, what brings us joy. So that would be the first exercise I would do. That is, in practical terms, very simple, but emotionally, something you have to be really present to. And then the next thing I would do is figure out what brings you joy. Now, if you don't know what brings you joy, that's a signal that you need to start exploring that. And if you do know, but you're not doing it, that's a signal that you need to be doing a lot more of it. So we're starting small here and figuring out, what do you not love in your life? What are you constantly compromising for? Which, if you're truthful with yourself, you'll know what it is. And then how do we replace that with something that's going to raise our vibration, our love, and our joy? And then how do we actually become deliberate about it, where then we are scheduling it daily? And what I would encourage everyone to do is, you could start with one thing. For me, my one thing that I started with was basketball. So basketball was my childhood joy. And I would play every day of the year until I became an adult. And play took a back seat. Now play is in the front seat. So I started with basketball. And the thing is, my soul craved more. And so it found ways to create more on its own. And I started adding other things that bring me joy. But what's most important is to get the energy going around this. You start with one thing and you do it every week. And it's in your calendar like this was, like this call was. You know why I didn't miss this call, John and Monzi? Number one, because I didn't want to let you down. And number two, because it was on my calendar. It was like the reminders, I had the alerts, right? I made sure that I was going to be on this call. So joy needs to be on your calendar.
Mhm.
So that's what
How
I
do
would
you
start.
reconcile? Yeah, how do you reconcile the activities that might occur for us more as have-tos, like such as going to the gym, washing dishes, even getting up in the morning? These aren't experiences that we automatically associate with joy. So whether in these examples or in your business, how do you navigate that?
So some of those things you still have to do. You still have to get up in the morning. You still have to do the dishes. So then what can make them more joyful? So for me, using your examples, doing the dishes. Dishes is party time at our house. This is where not only do we turn on the music, but we turn it up. This is where doing the dishes becomes a dance party. This is when getting up in the morning, the first thing I do is I put my hands on my heart and I think of things I'm grateful for. And I have rituals where then I go from upstairs to downstairs, which you've been in my house, so you can see it. And I come to my office where I am now, and I have a 2-hour morning ritual that lights me up to get up for, because I love it, which includes meditation and yoga and a 10-minute gratitude prayer, amongst many other things. So that means that I'm not getting up to conquer the day. I'm waking up really looking forward to the first 2 hours of my day. So this is about like, how can we take things that may feel mundane to us or routine, and what can we add to it to then change the context where our new relationship with that thing becomes joyful.
Mm. All right. We say that retreats are oxygen, gang. We certainly can put joy in that same category as oxygen on that level of necessary for our lives. Tiamo will be joining us at the April 17th through 19th retreat to legacy at the Ark. So those of you who have already registered, Tim, Dr. Ken, we're excited to bring all of us together. You get to drop in with Tiamo at the retreat to legacy. If you are not registered and you would like to join us, then reach out to me and we'll have that conversation. Let's open it up. Who has a question for Tiamo?
Before anyone asks a question, I want to chime in here. So Tiamo, every time we talk about like the topic joy, I can think of you where we were dancing and then you suddenly found this area where it looked like it was like a set for a DJ, but there was no DJ. And then you went up there and then just acted like you were the DJ playing the music that was on. And then it just looked like real. You just like literally brought in so much joy into acting of like dancing there like a DJ. And it's just like so much fun, right? Like that's what you make, is like you make it ordinary moment an extraordinary one. That's what it is. It's like you make a moment magical by bringing joy to it.
Oh, thank you. I love that memory, and I love how it turned into us dancing where like no one else was getting it started, so we did, right? Like to me, it's like joy is being initiators. So thank you so much for sharing that.
We're really excited to have you. It's almost 3 years that we've been wanting to have you at our retreat. Like, Tiamo, when is it gonna happen? And then there was divine timing, right? So
That's right.
We're really excited.
Yeah, and I feel like with the 3 years, thanks for the patience, and I feel like I've learned so much in those 3 years. Like what I can say now versus a couple of years ago. To me, John, you talked earlier about evolving and things like that, and so I have so many more insights into not only how to start the Joy First journey, but how to continue it, which is a big distinction.
One of our common joys is bringing people together. So that's why we love these retreats. And we've made them low pressure by building the Ark and the community like Ark. So
Yeah.
Tim, let's go to you.
Tiama, what was something that was hard for you to give up in insofar as the grind and the ego part of your business because of that sunk cost fallacy? Like, I've put so much time into this, I've been doing this for so long, la, 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 la. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Great question, Tim. You always have wonderful questions. Yeah, I would say it might sound funny, but no longer doing private coaching calls. Because that was such a cornerstone to my business. And John, you talked about the ascension model: event, mastermind, private coaching. And so I had this belief that if I no longer do private coaching, then I'm going to be losing my high-end clients. So that was one of the most challenging things for me, because as much as I love coaching, I also realized if I'm going to have so much more space for joy, I've got to replace it with something, which we talked about earlier. So I think it was my mindset of like, can I really do this where I no longer do private coaching and I only do group coaching? And how's that going to work? Because I had a lot of fear around that, which when I no longer did private coaching and only did group coaching, it made the group coaching so much better. And it seemed like nobody missed the private coaching. And I became more available outside of that. And the group coaching calls went deeper, went longer, and there was so much more sharing. Because I feel like before, people would be like, oh, I'll just save that for the private call. But they wouldn't share like all the things they really needed support with. Now they were like opening up so much more, which then, speaking of community, now it became like more of a conversation. Like I was still coaching people in the group, but now it was like us. So for me, that was like, it was just an idea that was really hard to let go of. And then my second part to that is I didn't know any other way than to hustle. Like I felt like I could out hustle anybody. I realized that I had ego-based pride around that. And so it was this huge undoing of everything that I was conditioned to believe. And I had a tough time trusting myself because that's what I relied on all the time. Like the hustle was always there for me. I knew I could always depend on the hustle. So if the hustle was going to be taken out of the equation, now it's just full of total uncertainty. So for me, I went from a certain model because it works every time I do it year after year to this abyss of uncertainty. So that I have to come in and see what uncertainty is about. The scariest part. So for me, it was like the toughest thing overall was just all the uncertainty about it. And what if I'm wrong? Like, what if I jump in the uncertainty and I do this whole joy first thing and it ruins our lives? But the key is I and we as a couple were willing to find out.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, just kudos to the courage, to be the willingness. Like the first time I heard someone get a 20-year chip for being sober, the guy said 5 words. He said, I prayed for the willingness. And sometimes we're not willing. And, like, I don't know, give me the easy thing, please. And I'm sure there were times when you had to go searching and praying for that willingness, but you were willing to find out, and that what you found out delighted you.
It did. And I would say one thing to add to that is I also knew for me to take that leap that I would have to be at peace with everything unraveling. Like there's potential that'll all unravel. And I did a whole process around that. Every part of it, like the business side of it, my family and providing for them, clients, the whole thing. What if it all falls apart? And can I be at peace with that? And I truly was. Like I embraced it. And I think that's something that we have to do, where we can't go on this joy first journey for the outcome of it. That's the tricky part, right? If you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go on this joy first journey because I want to make 30% more revenue next year. It's not how this works, right? Like, so for me, I was willing to do it if that meant losing the business. Like I'm going all in for a year. So that to me was like really profound in the letting go of it.
Mhm. Again, we want to save a few minutes for the open networking. So for Tiamo, it was going all in with joy first. It may or may not be the case with you. If this really ignites like your own personal relationship with joy, then I would say there is something for you to further consider. It could be going all in for 1 year, 10 years, who knows, right? It's an inquiry to be in. And it could be something else that you have not been prioritizing, that you get to really shift energetically with that focus on being versus doing. What is it for you? That focus on the being. What kind of field are we creating around us? So we want to bring on Tiamo as a really constant example of someone who is very intentional with the field he created, as you've experienced across the last 45 minutes. And we're excited to drop in with you at Retreat to Legacy further. Do you have a way for us to stay connected in the meantime?
Yeah, anyone's welcome to download my book, Joy First. There's a preview, a 3-chapter preview, because the book is not published yet. And I will put my email in the chat as well. And anyone's welcome to email me there.
All right. Thank you for that. So you can email Tiamo directly. And then for the 3 chapters, how do we get that? joyfirstjourney.com. Great. So again, just click on that right now. Just do it now if you want to pick up the book, and then fill out the info. And then Tiamo was very kindly made itself available through email too. All right. Much love, brother. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Can't wait to be at the Arc. Thank you, friends.
All right, gang. And everyone else, hang on, and we'll have a few minutes to drop in to each other.
I think this would be a great time for everyone to just come off their camera and have some open networking time for last few minutes.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that. So this is an opportunity to share. What are you creating? What are you leading in terms of your community, your retreats, any way you would like this tribe to support you? Tim, we have you on Spotlight. Would you like to go first?
What could I use? Oh, I don't know.
Well, we start with sharing what your business is. We haven't heard that yet.
Yeah. Well, to those I don't know on the call, hi, Tim Ringgold, music therapist and grief coach. So I help people discover joy and purpose after the loss of a loved one. And so today's conversation was great because as a music therapist, I empower my clients to experience authentic joy inside of the grief journey, that you can have joy and grief coexist in your life. And watching that take place in my business on my retreats while people are drumming, while they're singing, is magical. Even though I'm a clinician, I'm not supposed to say magical, but fuck that. It's magical. It's magic. So musical magician could be my anti-music therapist identity. And what I'm excited about right now is I'm building out this next stage for people, a year-long coaching program. And that was inspired by the work I've done with you guys. And when I first met you, I was really not open to that model at all. And, being coachable, I kind of just followed the plan. And, now I have 3 people in a year-long coaching program. We're going to Sardinia, Italy this summer. They're coming out to your place. We're hosting our retreat with you in April. And then we're doing a Dia de los Muertos retreat in downtown San Diego in the fall for Day of the Dead. And the process of kind of moving into that model, the uncertainty has been terrifying. And I just want to say that, you know, like if it feels scary, that's not a sign not to do it. That's been one of the biggest things I would want to contribute to everybody from this past year in my own business, rebuilding my business model, which there's a story behind that, but there was an unbelievable amount of uncertainty going into 2026. And I know some people will use the phrase, you know, if you feel something, it's a sign. And I'm like, not always. No, it's not always a sign you shouldn't be doing something. It just might be there's more uncertainty than you're comfortable with. And so that's been my journey, has been being able to reconcile that uncertainty in community. And if I didn't have coaches, I would be cooked.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. We're excited for your retreat happening at the Arc in late April. And it's been really exciting to see how your community has unfolded in terms of the experiences that you're creating with them, the Dia de los Muertos. Gang, we have an acronym we use in terms of creating your retreat community. It's XRX, which means that there's your expertise, there's the relationships that happen in your community, and then there's the experiences, right? So your unique expertise. So Tim being an expert in the grief process and transformation, especially with longevity after a loss, which I know is one of your pillars. And then the relationships, the deep, profound bonding that can only happen in person, especially with a niche like yours, being able to share with one another. And then the original experiences that they have, such as Dia de los Muertos, XRX, really great example.
Thanks.
All right. Want to hear from one or two others. Let's see. Hazel, would you like to share?
Hey guys, thank you so much. This is so cool. It's my first time joining. I didn't have my camera on because I was just getting out of bed.
Oh, okay.
I just got back from vacation, so but whatever, I'll do it.
Thanks.
You're beautiful, Hazel. Yeah. It's your heart that makes you so amazing. So we love you in all forms. Out of bed look is awesome.
Totally. Let's give a little context for who Hazel is for us. She is a dear friend. She's been to the Arc several times. We've been to her wonderful, amazing property several times. She and Burke Brown have Manifest University, and they have wonderful retreats. Incredible people they pull together, Reverend Michael Beckwith and many others. So how about you share with us what's going on in your world?
I just got back from Mazatlan, and I went to support a Spanish speaker who talks about sexy confidence. And I just met her. I was a judge for a speaker competition like 2 weeks ago, and then and she was there, and she invited me to Mazatlan. My grandmother was born there, and I've never been there, and I've been to all 7 continents, and I haven't been to like a place that's like so important for me, for my family, for, you know, just knowing where I come from is really important. But I went and what's that?
Is that Sandra? Her name is Sandra.
Yes. You know her?
Gonzalez, honey. Yeah, she's my friend from San Diego.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, small world. We're like the light draws to each other, right? So I went with, I don't even know Sandra 2 weeks ago, okay? And I met her Thursday, and 9 days later, I'm in Mazatlan with her, Albert is not with me. And I stay at her place, and I'm there for almost a week. And so I saw her speak. She speaks in Spanish. The mayor of Mazatlan came, and they're powerful women. It was International Women's Day. And they invited me to come back and do a retreat and speak to women there, which is incredible. I was just thinking about my grandmother, my grandparents, my family, like what just happened right now. Like now I'm gonna be doing some stuff in Mazatlan, and then we got a tour.
Stopped.
We took a tour of this is the last thing I'm gonna say. We took a tour of the mansions in Mazatlan to hold retreats. It's beautiful. I highly recommend it for all of you to have retreats there. Super affordable, beautiful beach, and very relaxing and safe. On Manifest University, we did our first Spanish Manifest University a couple of months ago, actually, in Puerto Morelos, which is near Playa del Carmen. Very affordable, was like only $750 for people to come. And they were in a beautiful place that looked like an ashram. We did ice baths, the temazcal, breath work, yoga, dance, and then all the sessions, and then very healthy food. It was incredible. It was all inclusive, $750. Hotel, you had your own room. Anyway, this place is amazing. If you guys want to know where it is, if you guys should check it out. And we have another one coming up, May 28th to the 31st, and it'll be bilingual, Spanish and English. And what we do is, me and a few other speakers are Spanish speakers, and then we switch and we do it in English. So we switch the groups from room to Spanish and English, so they get to be exposed to all of it. It's cool. And so I was thinking, like, what would I like? And Te Amo, great share, beautiful story. You're right, Joy. I mean, if you're not having fun and enjoying your life, like, I don't want to turn around and be 70 years old and wonder, like, where did my life go? I want to enjoy and be present to the people that I love, that love me, my family, my friends. And so this retreat stuff is really great because I love Nancy and John, and then I get to be here and say hello and talk about business, and then be with friends. Like, this is like a dream come true. And what I love about retreats is that the speakers become your friends also, right? So like Sandra G, and then you talked about Miss Manifest, this lady, right? Marie Diamond. So we're having lunch. I met her. She was one of the judges as well at the speaker competition. And I was reading her book when that happened. So now we're friends. And I loved all the speakers. So all of you, please, I would love to get connected to you, Hazel Ortega. I wrote a book, From Bounce Checks to Private Jets, The Mastery of Miracles. And I was broke one day, and 8 months later, I was a millionaire. And it was all because God asked me if I believe in miracles and what's possible for me. And that's one of the things that if I haven't asked for all of you, is like, if I could share my story and help people believe in miracles and that they can have the life that is intended for them and of their dreams, I would love that opportunity. Any audiences, I would love to I feel like that's what I'm here to do. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I love that. I love that about you, Hazel. What I love the most is that Hazel is not only a multi-seven-figure entrepreneur with her primary business, but she's on to creating another business that's going to be maybe even bigger. Who knows, right? Like, sky's the limit with Hazel. And she not only wants the best for herself and all her loved ones, but any random people, right? Like, she'll just come across anybody in the world and she just wants the best for them. And that's the heart that she carries. And that's what made us all such good friends, because we're big-hearted people. And it's hard to find that heart in the world that it holds so much love and frequency for others, right? Because there's enough judgment out there, and there's enough stories that we make up about other human beings. So it's a constant practice that you teach us. So thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think a through line, gang, you'll see is that authenticity and love are major values of everyone who we would bring together. And Hazel, you're such a consummate reflection of that. What's the best way to stay in contact with you? Do you want to pop that in the chat?
Yeah, I'm going to put my email, but I'm also going to put my number. So just, you guys are safe. You're already vetted community here. So I'm going to put my number, and feel free to send me a message and I'll connect for sure. Because I really do believe that the light workers need to be helping each other out, right?
Absolutely, gang. Always lead with adding value. So make us look good. When you reach out to Hazel, lead with adding value, please. So she's expressed that she's looking to speak on more stages. start thinking about that before you actually have the call with her. So thanks for popping that in there. We
And
hope-
anything that you guys need and want me to share your events, I'll do that. I have a list. I can help you guys any way you know you need.
Yes. Fantastic.
Hazel, do you live in
That's it.
San Diego?
I live in La Habra Heights, next to Fullerton, Brea area.
Yeah. I live in Orange.
Actually,
so-
she's your neighbor, Tim.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
I'm
You
gonna
should come
reach
over
out
to
to
our
you.
house.
Yeah, dude, we are SoCal neighbors, as you know how it is around here. I'm gonna reach out to you today. So once we get off the call, I'll make a connection on our phones. Great.
All
to
of
do.
you are invited to my house. We have pools here. We can hang out anytime. Billy Carson was here and he called my house Manifest Mansion. So when you come here, you create dreams and then they show up in your life.
Yeah, that whole movie theater is pretty sweet too, gang. I watched Predator in there.
Oh yeah. If you're a movie buff, you gotta go hang out with Albert and Berkay, and it's like a boys thing there in the movie theater. But one day, Hazel, will make it a girls thing.
Yeah, there's two guys that live here too, not just me. So my partner, Albert, who's amazing. And then he makes mind movies, you know, where you create the future and you watch your movie every day and then it comes to life. And then Berkay is a speaker and really just world-class people, very amazing people.
All right, beautiful. And congratulations again on the one-woman show. What's next for that? Are you still doing it?
The play?
I'm sorry, not the play that's based on your book that we got to see.
Yeah, so right now we're talking about what's next for it. So it was adapted for formerly incarcerated communities. So that was the initial intention, and that's what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cool getting a whole theater that was booked out for it. It was end of last year. We were up there and got to see that. So super, super cool.
Thank you. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
All right, gang, we are over time right now. So great to see everyone. We have the ARC is available to you if you want to connect further for our retreats and our venue as well for your upcoming events. Until then, much love. Be free.
Much love.
One more announcement. We'll be convening again on March 25th with Darla Ledoux will be our special guest. So Yannick Silver was booked for that day. He had something come up, so he's booked for a month later now. So Darla Ledoux, who is the author of Retreat and Grow Rich, very, very, very accomplished retreat leader and beautiful soul, will be joining us March 25th. So be sure to join us for that as well. Much love. Be free.
All right, gang.
We rise.